All right, everybody, it's your Uncle Ed back. And today in this video, thank you so much for watching, number one. And I hope you're doing fantastic. It's a Saturday morning. It's beautiful out. And hopefully you're going to get out this weekend and have a lot of fun. But in the meantime, today we have Stacey Tuntry with us. I know she even has the nice little British wave. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good too, with this weather and just everything. Here's the thing, though. We're doing great, but is it me or is this time thing just accelerating on us? I actually heard that the Earth is rotating quicker,
Well, it's got to be something because, yes, I do
right?
feel like time is accelerating at a pretty rapid clip. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know, our parents told us, right? Oh, you're gonna see when you get older, time's gonna fly, and you're gonna want to wish to be a kid again. Check. They were
Yep.
absolutely right because
It
it is
happened.
going faster and faster, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I love your layout, by the way.
Thank you.
I love that background. Super, super cool. And you got the QR code and the whole thing going on. So tell me a little bit about how you got into the professional organization business. Cause it's that's not something I guess you just wake up one day and decide, at 7, I'm gonna be a professional organizer.
Yeah, it was definitely not on my life roadmap at all. So back in 2019, I left my full-time job I figured I was just going to take a self-imposed sabbatical, take the first break from active work life and that I've ever had, and just decompress. I had been feeling really burned out for a number of years and I just needed a break. So I figured I'd take some time off and then I'd pretty much go back to the same thing because I didn't really know what else I wanted to do with my life. And while I was taking the time off, I started tackling a to-do list in my own home of all the deferred maintenance. So we painted, we got new windows, we replaced the roof. Like I basically became a project manager for all the
Mhm.
general contractors and professionals that were doing work in the house. And as part of that process, we had the inside of the house painted. You have to box everything up as though you're moving and move
Mm,
everything to the center of the room so that they can tarp all of that off and then
of course.
spray around. I could not believe how much stuff we had in the house. And it really got me thinking about my life choices and my values and what is important to me. So I did a big purge when we were packing the boxes up, and then it took a month for all the work to get done. And then when we unpacked, I was, had been living without all of this stuff for a while. And I was like, man, why did I even put this in a box? I got rid of some more stuff. So I kind of did like two purges in that project. And it really I pulling things out of closets at the way back, I was like, I didn't know I had this stuff.
Mm,
All this like there's a meme I've seen going around the internet, but it's true. All this stuff used to be money. Had I invested that money, I could be growing it instead of shoving it in the back of a closet. It just when you're confronted with that stuff that you've purchased, you start to realize, I think I was filling a void and using retail therapy as a way to escape some stress.
mm,
So I really had some thinking to do, and it really changed my life. It changed my spending behaviors. It changed the ways in which I self-soothe. It's like maybe go outside for a walk instead of going to your favorite retailer online du jour and clicking that shopping cart button over and over again. So, and also because I'd taken time off work, I didn't have the financial resources that I had enjoyed when I was, gainfully employed. So for all those reasons, it was just time to make some behavior changes. So, and then too, like once all the stuff was out of my house, I looked around and I was like, oh my God, it's so much nicer. Like my home felt so elevated. It wasn't just the paint, it was the fact that my eyes had blank places to land. That was it. Like my house felt very noisy and crowded, like everything was yelling at me. And once I cleared all that clutter out and I really just kept things out that were really precious and special to me. And all of a sudden I could notice them more. So that whole process, I was like, I had a great time doing all this work. The way that it changed my own life, I thought, oh my God, people need to know about this. I got to do this for other people. This is what I want to do. And I didn't know that there was an entire industry for professional organizing, and I found NAPO, the National Association of productivity and organizing. I might have gotten that slightly wrong, but anyway, that's my tribe. Like that's my professional
Mm.
organization. They provide a code of ethics and professional standards and education and community. Once I found them, I was like, that's it. I am in. So I did home organizing and move management for a couple of years. And then in talking to some other folks who do other things under the professional organizing umbrella, I thought, oh my gosh, there's even more to this that I could be doing. So it turns out home organizing is really hard, like wear and tear on your body because it's a really physical job. And I
Yeah.
didn't start it until my mid 40s. So I thought, okay, this is probably not a sustainable career path for me because I don't really aspire to have a team. I'm kind of happy doing my own thing, which means, that's all the wear and tear is on my body.
Yeah.
So I started doing digital organizing for folks, taking all of those organizing principles into the last room of the house, which is your computer, your online files, your inbox, your calendar, and then helping folks really learn how to navigate their computers because so many people spend a lot of time on their computers. And if it's chaos, it's the same as if you're in a really cluttered house and again, your eyes don't have a soft place to land and it just feels very like everybody's yelling at you. So yeah, I started doing that. And then in having conversations with folks where we're setting up password managers or
Mm.
talking about their digital legacy, it became really clear to me that there's a lot of I like to begin with the end in mind. So I like to get people to a place where they have an organized baseline with their technology, but really that's great for their daily life and their productivity. But also, as long as we're doing that, like let's make it easy for you to hand off your whole life to somebody else. Like if something happens to you, who else has access to your devices, your online accounts? Do you know what your online accounts are? Do you know when things are auto paying to your credit card? um, who could turn all of that off if they needed to. So I just started thinking all the way through to the end, as long as we're in here doing this stuff and thinking about these things, like let's really put a plan in place and make sure that you have the ability to hand it off. And in my personal life, three things happened in my family. I had my parents had a house fire back in 2015.
Oh,
They lost they had more water damage than fire damage. So it's kind of like a flood/fire because they had sprinklers, and that is what caused most of the damage. But they did not have a home inventory for the insurance company. They didn't have backup for a lot of their vital documents that were nicely organized in a file cabinet and then soaked. So it was really difficult to recover from that disaster. And then a year later, my stepmom passed away from cancer, and she had not done a handoff of any of the bill pay. She did all of that for that household. And so when
oh,
she died, my dad had no access to his own online accounts, any of the passwords. So he didn't even know how to pay his bills. So that was really traumatic on top of the loss itself. And then 2 years after that, my brother, who was only 36 years old, passed away unexpectedly. And he had two little kids with um, there was no estate plan, no will, no guardianship. Um, it was
oh.
very, very challenging for us. We were in court for a year trying to get guardianship of the kids formally. And it was hard on them because they didn't know what was going to happen to them for a year. So those three things back to back, had any of these pieces been in place, would have been so much easier for the rest of us to deal with. And we could have just gone on with the business of grieving and not had to worry about all of this other stuff. So as I'm kind of following the path of my organizing career, I land here and I'm like, yeah, that was really hard for us. Let me make this less hard for other people. So that's it in a nutshell.
I mean, wow. There's so much to unpack here, but thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, it's amazing how the forks in the road in our lives just can completely change so many things that then, should you choose to, becomes your superpower to help other people
Yes,
make those changes. Because here's the truth, Stacey. I mean, news at 11 here. Life happens, everyone. And
absolutely.
sometimes the things that happen come out of nowhere. Look,
Yes.
I just lost, I think you know this, I recently lost my cousin who's my age to cancer. I mean, it was like, how is this possible? Right?
Mhm.
I mean, talk about something that comes to the forefront really quick. And I don't know if he had everything in place. He died in Italy. He was living in Italy forever. He was an opera singer. He actually
Oh,
sang
wow.
for the Pope. I
Oh
mean,
my
but
gosh.
little do you know that this is how life's gonna happen, right? But I think you speak to so many things that affect all of us. Number one, I think we all, to a certain degree, succumb to what I call the marketing machine,
Hmm.
where we accumulate so many things because we are all doing retail therapy, right?
Yeah.
And it becomes kind of second nature to go and just start clicking away.
Yeah.
By the way, they design it that way. They design it just like McDonald's designs their horrible food to be addictive.
Exactly. Or like a
These
casino.
machines are always right programming you to feel like what they just sold you is now obsolete. Get the new one.
Hmm.
And then next thing you know, you're moving and you don't realize, oh my gosh, I'm a professional hoarder. I had
Yeah.
no idea I had that much stuff,
Yeah, I really didn't know. I did not
right?
think that I had a problem. And I guess it's everything is on a spectrum.
Yeah,
I'm sure I might have had a worse problem than some people and not as much of a problem as others, but I wasn't aware of how much I was doing, how much spending I was doing recreationally. Just
yeah.
I didn't need half of that stuff.
Right. And
Clothes
like you
and
said, the opportunity cost of that dollar could have been investing it somewhere else, which, over the years adds up to a ton of money. But that
yeah,
machine's always telling you, right? Always making you feel
yeah,
outdated, obsolete, and sometimes even just a little awkward. Hey, why don't you have it? Look, kids,
yeah,
they're like, what version of the phone do you have? Oh my gosh, you have a 2-year phone?
yeah.
You might as well have a phone that's the
Ancient.
brick that first came out, and like, right, this is how it happens.
Yeah.
And then I love how you transition and just realize your truth is that, look, I need to transition, which by the way is also a case study. Encourage everyone that you're only stuck if you think you're stuck, and if you allow yourself to be stuck. One of my sayings is stop digging, put the shovel away, right?
Yeah.
And make some. I'm not saying these decisions are easy, and they weren't easy for you, I'm sure, because we're super programmed also that our identity, the majority of our identity comes from what we do for work, when in fact that's a little piece of who we are, right? You've
Yeah.
heard me say this a million times, that your business card just tells a little inkling of who you are. It's what you do, but it's not who you are, right? And then to transition to the digital side, I think that that was brilliant because we are in a digital world, and pretty much everybody has a computer, right? I know
Mm-hmm.
someday we probably won't have them and it'll be all on a phone or something, but for now, we all have computers. And what kind of legacy are you creating right now? And I love the fact that you reverse engineered it. I think, by the way, that's a pro tip number one, everyone that is watching. You need to think worst case scenario could happen. What does your legacy look like? And reverse engineer and start to put all that in place. Look, you've opened up my eyes. I mean, I haven't thought about the digital footprint. And, because of this conversation, I really am going to do that because it's important. We have so much of our identity in digital format
Mm-hmm.
that if something happens to me, okay, how easy is it going to be for my wife and my son, who's 11, to be able to navigate moving
Yeah.
forward? Because if not, they're mourning you, and then you give them extra
Hmm.
psychological work to do
Yeah.
and make it difficult for them when it's
It's
already a
really
difficult
cool.
situation, right?
It's really cruel. Yeah. I know that nobody does this on purpose,
Of
but
course
it
not.
when it happens to you, when you think you have more time and disaster strikes unexpectedly, uh, it's devastating. Yeah, you're right. You at a moment when you already feel like grief makes you feel like you're trapped in a jello mold, like you're heavy and it's hard to put one foot in front of the other. Asking somebody to take on effectively an unpaid part-time job for a couple of years to deal with that stuff is cruel. It's really mean.
No, it is. And you mentioned something about, your brother's kids. I mean, not only are they mourning the loss of their dad, but here we are, like they're in limbo. And
Yeah.
children need that sense of extra stability even more so than adults, right? Because they just don't see the world the same and they don't have the same coping mechanism. I can just imagine slightly how, from the perspective of those children, how they must feel or they felt when they lost their dad and all of a sudden they're in limbo, like, well, oh, you mean we got nowhere to go, or who's going to take care of us,
Yeah. And
right?
the cohort of folks with minor children are actually the least likely to have a will. I just think people, when they're in the age group where they're able to have kids, just make assumptions that they have enough time to deal with it later and that nothing's going to happen to them.
There it is.
Single parents might have a little bit different perspective because they don't feel like they have automatic backup. But when you've got two parents, I think especially, they just assume that at least if something happens to me, there's a plan B. But, couples go on vacations all the time. What if something happened to both of you? I mean, it's not likely, but you can't take chances like that. I really wish we
Yeah,
wouldn't take chances like that.
yeah. Let's take the Vegas out of life planning, right? It
Absolutely.
can't just
Yes,
be like, here's my plan.
exactly.
No, it cannot be that. And we know somebody, we'll just call him Tom, in common, who, look, they went on a cruise to Mexico, and the wife gets airlifted, and you know what? Things have never been the same. And now she's got an expiration date coming up.
It's awful.
And it's horrible. I mean, never in a million years, I know, did they ever think that this would happen. By the way, on a vacation, right? This is supposed to be fun. We just don't know. Not to be doom and gloom, folks. This is
Right.
not what this is about. This is really about to, right? Bing, open
Yes.
up our eyes and say, let's activate our love for the people that we love in the form of pre-planning,
And when
right?
you
Let's
get
plan.
it done, and actually, I shouldn't say done because I don't think this process is ever done.
No.
And this is one of the reasons why people don't do it because they feel like it's just overwhelming and that if they can't get it perfect or done, they don't even want to start. I would encourage anybody to just take any small step that you can, just get started because over time you'll put more and more things in place like, with all the things I mentioned in my family, if even 20% of the work had been done up front, that would have saved us 20% of that work. That would have been worth doing. Maybe even just having a password manager for my parents so that my
Mm-hmm.
dad didn't get locked out of his accounts like that.
Mm-hmm.
That is easy to do, doesn't take a lot of time, it's not expensive, and holy cow, can that make a huge difference to the family. That's just one thing that would have been huge.
No, you're
So,
right, Stacey. I mean, look, the people that I talk to, they go, yeah, I just don't have time to read. You'd be surprised that if you took 15 minutes and read 2 pages a day or something,
yeah,
times 365, now all
yeah.
of a sudden you're reading books, not book, but books, right?
How much time are you
And
spending scrolling and checking
yeah,
social
doom
media?
scrolling, right? Let's replace 10 minutes of that,
Exactly.
4 hours.
Just that you can easily find 15 minutes a day for things like this.
100%. It's, you will always find the time, just like I tell people on my side, I can find the money.
Mm-hmm.
I can find the money by looking at your bank statements and looking at, right, your credit card statements. I can find the money, right? Just
You
like you
know,
did. I mean,
I
right?
can
When
say
you
that
did
too,
that
because
process, you're like, oh my gosh, do I need 7 of these spoons?
yes. For example, yeah, when you kind of turn off the spending spigot and you're just like you stop the money from going out in the first place, those behaviors change, but then also things like cataloging your online accounts. I was shocked at how many subscription services I pay for. There's more than 30. I'm just
Wow.
one person. That's just me, not including like my whole household. That's just my personal stuff and personal and
Wow.
business. So, and when I put that list together, I went through it and I was like, oh my God, what am I? Okay, I don't really use this anymore. I can turn that off. I don't use this. I can turn that off. I ended up saving myself a couple $100s a year just by turning off subscription services that I'm not using. And they were like $5 to $15 a piece. Like just death by a thousand cuts. But if you don't see it, you don't know what you're dealing with and
The
what's
paper cut death. You're
money is
right.
just flying out the door and you don't even realize it. So
100%. And here's the thing, what they design it that way because they know you're going
absolutely.
to forget.
That's
And
right.
guess what? It's their annuity. You imagine these companies will have 5 million people who have forgotten times 15. Let's do some math here. Okay. Let's just say it is 5 million. And you said $15 a month, right?
Yeah.
Let's just say that's $75 million these people are making just by breathing. Can you imagine
Yeah.
reinvesting that money? I mean, we're on to something here. So, on that
Absolutely.
note, Stacey, what are some pro tips that you give people to just start? Do you happen to have a form that maybe the form says start with these steps?
I'll tell you some really quick hits. So one is if you don't have a home inventory, that is not just good end of life planning because you can use that inventory as a tangible items list that you can reference in your will, but it can also help you recover from disaster. So if something happens to your home, you have some record of what's inside of it. So a really excellent home inventory can take many days to put together, but don't let that intimidate you. What you can do is take your phone out of your pocket right now, stand in the middle of each room of your home, turn on the video, and just take a 360-degree video of each room. So you have like maybe a minute and a half video of each room in your home. If that is all you do and you stop there, at least if your house burns down tomorrow, you can go back to that video and then you can start to construct your Excel spreadsheet with all
Excellent idea.
itemized items. At
Excellent.
least you have that. So that's number one. Um, Number two is we don't think about our digital legacy and what happens to all of our social media accounts when something happens to us. And you might think, who cares? I'm dead. It doesn't matter. But each of those accounts comes with their own terms and conditions and rules about who can access your stuff. And really, nobody can access your stuff unless you specifically designate a legacy contact in your different social media accounts. So I would say Google, iCloud, and Facebook. Those are the top three. Almost everybody has at least one of those accounts. You can go into your privacy settings and designate a legacy contact on those three accounts. It takes
Oh,
about
okay.
5 to 10 minutes a piece. So within a half an hour, you can have a person designated who could take over that account if something happens to you. That means fraudsters don't have access to your data after you die. I know people who've been sent text messages from Facebook Messenger from deceased loved ones because their accounts got hacked. And there's no unringing that bell once it happens. So this is really important. And even if you have a will, um, it's really good to have a digital estate plan in addition to the regular stuff, because then you can name a digital estate executor who then has the legal authority to go into your
Mhm.
digital media accounts. Because a lot of people don't realize, even if you have, like, I have my spouse's passwords for his online accounts, but if he didn't make me the digital legacy person, I don't have the legal authority to do anything on his behalf. The risk is
Interesting. See, these
probably
are things that you
low.
don't think about.
That's right. So, having access is one thing, but having the legal authority to do certain things is
Mm,
another. So, you could be busted for hacking yourself
okay.
if
Wow.
it's really good to have good digital hygiene and make sure you've got people listed for those accounts. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Well, hey, look, you've given us a ton of great tidbits. So now the big question is, how do people get a hold of you so that they can hire you immediately for this kind of help?
You can go to staceytuntry.com and check out my services page. I've got a couple of programs that I run. One is really a package for digital organizing. And then if you want to take it to the next level, there's also a package for the legacy planning piece, which incorporates a lot of the digital organizing.
Nice. And then you have a QR code. Where does that QR code go to?
That is going to go to my homepage.
Okay,
So you
perfect.
don't
So
even have to type.
scan the QR code
That's
and
right.
give her a call. And do you do an initial consultation? What's the
I
process?
do an initial consultation. So depending on what you're I recommend just reaching out to me. There's a contact form and
Okay,
staceytuntry.com/contact. Uh, Fill out that form. Let me know what you're interested in, and we'll set up an appointment. It'll either be 30 or 60 minutes, but that's a free consultation. It helps me
excellent.
understand what your goals are. And then I can start to put a kind of a project plan together for you within the container of these packages I'm talking about.
Excellent. Well,
Yeah.
you heard it here, folks. Scan her code or just go to staceytuntry.com. You see her name, how it's spelled. Go and reach out to her and get that initial consultation because I think just like what she's gone through, I'm sure a lot of people here that have watched this can relate. Don't leave it for tomorrow. You need to do that today. And we're going into a weekend, perfect time to just
Yeah.
carve out some time during the weekend because it's when you're less busy and just get it done. Get it done for the people that you love. You don't
That's
even
right.
have to get it done for you. Do it for the people that you love. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Stacey. This has been like eye-opening. Seriously, I really, really appreciate not only
Absolutely my
your
pleasure.
origin story, but just the tidbits and the advice. And we will see you again. We'll do
Yep.
another one and just do an update.
Okay, sounds great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Have a
Ed.
great one. Bye bye. Bye, everybody.